Good afternoon. I'm Mrs. Johnson, the career coordinator of Pleasant Valley, and we're here once again to talk about College 101. We want to give you information so that you can know what to do after high school, how to get paid for school, the skills that you need, and what kind of colleges are best for you. Starting after today, in January, we'll resume with our video sessions, and we're actually going to call this Postsecondary 101 because we want to make sure that not only do you know about college options, but you know about all the other post-secondary, such as apprenticeship, military, on-the-job training. Today, we have Kelsey King from Eastern Iowa Community College and Emily Frederick from Western Illinois University, the Quad City campus. Ladies, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. So today, Emily and I will talk with you about the various forms of financial aid available to students through the FAFSA, payment plan, and scholarships. So the first one that we'll dive into is the FAFSA. And the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And the key word there is free. The FAFSA does not have a cost associated to it. There are going to be some websites that may charge you to complete the FAFSA, but please know it is free, so no one should be charging you to complete that. The application is available on the FAFSA.gov website. And the FAFSA is just going to help students pay for college and cover any college-related expenses. The FAFSA opens up October 1st. So if you are a senior watching this right now, the application is available for you to complete. And if you are a junior watching us, the application will open up to you October 1st of 2021. And it is important to note that students do need to reapply for the FAFSA each academic year that they are attending college. So it's not something you do just once, you do need to complete it each year.
Okay, and one of the first things that you're going to want to do with starting the FAFSA is you're going to want to go on to the website, the fsaid.ed.gov, in order to create an FSA ID. This will allow you and your parent to electronically sign the FAFSA and be able to transfer some of your tax information over from the IRS. The FSA will confirm your identity when accessing your financial information. Next, you'll want to make sure you select the correct academic year in order for it to link up. When entering your information, make sure that everything matches what's on your Social Security card. For example, if your name is Michael, you cannot put Mike, even if that's what you go by. You do need to put Michael. And make sure you use your personal email, as that information will be sent to you there and not any work or school emails.
So we'll talk a little bit more about who's eligible for the FAFSA. And so you do need to have a high school diploma or equivalent, such as a HiSET, which is your GED. You need to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. If you are male between 18 and 25 years old, you do need to register for the Selective Service. You need to have a valid Social Security number and enroll in an eligible program. There are some programs that colleges offer through like continuing education that may not be covered by financial aid. So it needs to be an eligible program. You do need to make satisfactory progress to continue to receive the FAFSA from semester to semester, year to year as well. And then once you are finishing up the FAFSA, it's going to have you sign a certification statement and a confirmation form as well, which we'll get into that. And then DACA, undocumented, or international students are not eligible for financial aid. So when you are completing the FAFSA, you can select up to 10 colleges. A lot of students will tell me, oh, I haven't done my FAFSA yet because I haven't made that decision on where I'm going. But you can put up to 10, so it really shouldn't be stopping you from filling out the FAFSA. And each college and university is going to have what's called a school code. And so we've put the codes there for Scott Community College and Western Illinois University, so you can see what those are like. So visit your college or university's website to get the school code there for the application. The FAFSA is also going to ask for student demographics. It's also going to ask for students' tax information if you were working. You'll need to make your college selection. So again, you can select up to 10 colleges or universities there. There'll be a series of dependency questions, which we'll talk about here next, as well as parent information is needed on the FAFSA up until the age of 24. So we'll talk about that more here too. And then you'll sign, submit, and receive confirmation for your FAFSA. So this is a question we see a lot is, are you considered an independent student or a dependent student? And so if you can answer yes to any of the questions that you see here, you would be considered an independent student. So I won't read through all of those, but just take a minute to review those questions up there. So again, if you can answer yes, you may be considered an independent and may need to provide some additional documentation. If you answer no to these, then you would be considered a dependent student. Another question we get a lot is, who's considered the parent on the FAFSA? And a lot of students and parents are in different situations, whether they're married or divorced or separated or widowed, and so they're not sure which parent's information they're going to be using on the FAFSA. So hopefully these 4 questions here will provide, or 4 bullet points here will provide some clarification to you on whose parent information you should be using on the FAFSA.
Now, Kelsey, we have had families that maybe they're not living with their parents. Perhaps they're living with their grandparents, aunts and uncles and things like that. And the parents, though, still are around on there, so they're not deceased. How do they decide on who should they have for the parent?
So if, on the previous side, if they did not answer yes to any of those questions, they would be considered a dependent student, in which case then they do need to have the parent information. So our financial aid office, and Emily, I'm sure can speak to this too, can work with the student and the parents and have a conversation to have a better understanding of what is needed and why it's needed for the FAFSA. So unless they're considered an independent student, they're still going to need the parents' information. So Emily, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is they're going to want to work with the school, whichever one they decide, and talk about the circumstances that they have. Depending on the circumstance, it could be that they can do kind of like an appeal to look at what's going on for their other options. A lot of it too would be that if the parents are still around, but the guardianship was given to the grandparents, we can look at then using that information, or there's different things that they can work with. They just really need to work with their advisor to make sure that everything's in line so that they can award them correctly.
Terrific. So it sounds like there's a little bit more flexibility than you may see on the FAFSA website. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, it's going to depend for each school what they do, but the biggest thing is just be open and provide as much information as possible when you're speaking to your advisor if you fall under different circumstances.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then who gets to talk about completing the FAFSA?
I think this one's you, Emily.
Yeah, my computer was just a little bit delayed, but that's okay. So when you're completing the FAFSA, the application will tell you what tax year you're going to use. It is 2 years prior, so when you're doing the 21-22 FAFSA, it will be your 2019 taxes. You may be able to use what they call the IRS data retrieval tool, and again, you'll need to use that FSA ID. That'll help pull all your tax information over for you, so it's an easier transition for getting the information in there. If you don't understand where to look for on your taxes though, or what a question means, just click on the little check mark and it'll let you know how to answer the question. If you are the student and you did work and file taxes, you will need to make sure you have that information as well. Make sure you review the full information on your FAFSA that everything is correct. You agree to the terms, and then you will electronically sign the FAFSA, and then you will receive an email with confirmation that it was completed.
So there are a couple different ways the money can be awarded to you then. And so the money can come to you in the form of student loans. So these are borrowed funds that must be paid back, including interest and fees. And students need to be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours. You may also receive the funds in the form of grants, and typically these are awarded based on a financial need like the Pell Grant, and these do not need to be paid back. And then there is a federal college work-study program. So this allows students to earn funding for their education through part-time jobs that are either on or off campus. There are scholarships, and we'll go into a lot more detail here in the next few slides about all the scholarships, but these are monies that's awarded to students from the college or community donors that do not need to be paid back. And the scholarships are a separate application from the FAFSA. Sometimes people think those are the same applications. They are separate. And then there are private loan options. So these are offered by private lenders such as banks and credit unions. And each has a different set of criteria for eligibility for those, which can vary from student to student and family. And these are going to be at different interest rates and payment options for students.
We gotta love technology on there when we're all on different speeds, and the computers boot things up in different ways on there. So thanks for your patience.
So for the deadline, it will vary by college of when they want it. The biggest thing to remember is complete it as soon as possible. July 1st is for the Iowa deadline for the 2021 academic year. And for WIU's deadline, it is June 30th of whatever year the closing. We just encourage everyone to complete the FAFSA as soon as possible to maximize your eligibility.
So another form of financial aid is available to students through a payment plan, and most colleges and universities will have some kind of payment plan available for students. So for example, with Eastern Iowa Community Colleges, we use the NBS tuition management, and this provides students the opportunity to either pay their tuition and fees online in total or through setting up a payment plan into monthly payments. And so I did provide the link there to our website that you can go to for more details and information on signing up for that if you're attending one of the Eastern Iowa Community College campuses.
And for Western Illinois University, you are able to set up payment plans. They are available. You'll work with our business office depending on what the balance is in order to be able to split up the payments to make them affordable for you in order to get that paid off in time. I also provided the link to the billing and receivables page so you can get more details about the payment plan options.
There we go. All right, so the next slide then is about scholarships, and there are way more scholarship opportunities out there than what you're seeing on this slide, but these are just some of the key ones that are important for you. So through Scott Community College, we do have a foundation office, and so the link to the scholarship page is there on the screen. Our deadline for the fall semester is March 1st. And what's great about our scholarship application is you just fill out one application and you're considered for all of the scholarships that we have. So we don't make you painfully apply over and over and over again for all of the different ones. And then we just ask for 2 references and a goal statement, which is why you're deserving or needing a scholarship, how would the money help you, those kinds of things. The other scholarship I wanted to mention to you is the Connection Scholarship. And so this is for concurrent students. So those high school students taking classes through Scott Community College, you may be eligible for the Connection Scholarship. And the link is there as well, and that deadline is March 1st. So there's 3 levels to it. It's anywhere from half off tuition, 2 free classes, or 1 free class with us.
And for Western Illinois University, there is the link provided for a full list of scholarships. Western does have its own scholarships that for any campus, whether you go to the Quad Cities or to the Macomb campus, but there are a list of a lot of scholarships that are specific just to the Quad City area. There are some that do require the full application and then some references. You just have to go and click on each link and scholarship to be able to see what is needed.
And then,
Below,
go ahead.
go ahead.
And then there are two that we promote here at the school, and you'll see in the announcements in our e-news. One is the Quad City Community Foundation. That's for all the schools in the area. So you want to make sure you're applying for that as soon as possible. And then we have our PV foundational scholarships, which are only for PV seniors. And those start and will open on December 15th. You can go to the website now and look, but the actual application won't be open until December 15th, and the deadline is February 17th. We have over 90 scholarships. We want to make sure that people are out there applying for those. So if you think that you're going to college of some type, make sure that you're applying for those scholarships on there.
And scholarships are a really good return on your investment. So if you spend an hour filling out a scholarship application and it's $500 and you get it, you just made $500 an hour. So it's really worth spending the time to complete all the applications and check with area businesses, your organizations, your high schools, colleges, banks, credit unions. There are so many scholarships out there for students. So definitely make sure you are applying for those opportunities.
And as Kelsey said, we'll be talking more about this on second semester.
And so I wanted to also talk to you about the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship. And this is specific for students who are coming to an Iowa community college. They have to enroll in one of the eligible programs, but what the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship does is it will cover the cost of your tuition during your time in the program. The programs range, there's over 20 different programs ranging from healthcare, business, IT, manufacturing, transportation, many more career areas. So please visit our website that you see there on the screen for the complete list of eligible programs. To get the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship, you just need to complete your FAFSA and enroll full-time in the eligible program right after high school. So this is a great opportunity to have your tuition covered if you're going into any of those career and technical educational programs.
One thing to note about this Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship is that the careers, the programs that are available are the careers that are available here in Iowa. There are most in demand. So when you get the education for that, in whatever way that goes, you're going to be set up for success for a job here in Iowa.
And then lastly, Emily and I just wanted to provide you with some helpful tools. A lot of the resources that I pull from is ICANN, the Iowa College Access Network. They are doing virtual FAFSA appointments via Zoom right now. So their website and phone number is there. There's videos both in English and Spanish on YouTube on how to complete the FAFSA. You can download a step-by-step guide there, commonly answers to common questions. So please use these resources if needed. And then one just last thing I wanted to mention too is FERPA, which stands for Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act. And so this is something that all colleges and universities abide by, that we cannot discuss students' educational records, including financial aid, with anyone but the student. So if you are a parent calling on behalf of your student, please know that we may not be able to disclose that information to you without the proper sign of release form on student release form on file. So if the student's watching and you do want your parents to be able to call on your behalf for these kinds of things, please make sure you're signing the release form for that.
Kelsey, with that release form, or Emily, either one of you, when they sign that release form, can they make it just for the financial aid and separate for that still the grades or any of that other issues might be private still?
Yes, they can. They can select which information they're giving us permission to talk to them about. And then just up on the screen is my contact information as well as the phone number to our financial aid office here on campus. And then Western Illinois' financial aid office there, as well as Emily's email. So please reach out to us. We're happy to help you with your FAFSA questions.
One thing that I want to talk about or ask is, I hear all the time, actually I just had somebody come in the office the other day and they said they weren't going to fill out FAFSA because they knew they made too much money and so it was a waste of time. Why should students and families fill out FAFSA when they have those kind of questions?
Well, in regards to the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship, that one is not income-based. So whether you're saying you make too much, that doesn't matter for the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship. That's eligible to any students who apply for that and go in any program. And it doesn't hurt to fill out the FAFSA just to see what you're getting. You don't have to take the funds. You may be surprised at what you may get for grants or eligibility. So life situations can always change as well. So it's great just to have that on file and be able to use it than to not have it on file and have to go through the process. So it's best just to apply for it and have it done in case you need it.
Yeah, like Kelsey said too, a lot of the scholarships, like with Western specifically too, you have to have the FAFSA done. They might not be based off of your income, but you do have to have a FAFSA completed. A lot of your student loans, with the federal loans, you have to have the FAFSA completed as well in order to be eligible for the student loans. So it doesn't hurt you to fill out the FAFSA. It helps you to see what other opportunities there are out there in order to see if there's any other scholarships or what you can apply for. So there also are some private loans that they may require you to fill it out as well. So it's just easier to do that and get it done and know what you can do moving forward than try to backtrack and have to do it later.
Great answers. Another question that I get a lot of times from students and families is, or we're hearing that they haven't filled out their FAFSA and October goes by, November goes by, we're now into March and they're still not applying for that FAFSA on there because they see, well, Iowa isn't due until June 1st, so we have lots of time yet. Why should they fill out FAFSA sooner rather than later?
With the FAFSA, the sooner you fill it out, the sooner you're going to know what you're eligible for and able to plan, have a better financial plan of how you're going to pay for school. Again, it could be that you have to have that FAFSA on file before you can fill out any of the scholarships. And if a scholarship deadline is in March, you don't have your FAFSA on file, you could automatically be disqualified just because you don't have the FAFSA done. I mean, the sooner you have it, the better financial planning you can do for the future.
I always tell students to give yourself the gift of time in anything you can do for college related processes. So whether it's for scholarships, financial aid, getting registered, applying to the college, as soon as those things open up for you, get them done as soon as you can. And you can just check them off and be done with it, and it'll be a less stressful process for you instead of waiting at the end and backtracking, as Emily said, just to kind of meet these check marks or benchmarks as the applications become available to you.
And both of you talk about financial planning, and that I don't think we've talked about a lot. This is something even our younger students, even down in the elementary and the junior high, you talk about planning. How would that help to start even earlier to talk about the family expectation for the financial part of it? Are the families going to pay for 100%? Are they going to pay for a portion of it? Whatever that might be.
I think that varies up to each family and their financial situation. Definitely encourage students to look at that when they're making their college decisions and when they're looking at what the tuition is at private college, public universities, community colleges, just weighing those different, financial, they're all different as far as their tuitions and things like that go. So just kind of weighing your different options and being aware, asking questions can help with that planning.
Emily, would you have anything to add?
I would just say the sooner you start, like Kelsey said, the sooner you start looking at it, the better you're going to be. There could be a time where you're going to say, I don't want to take out the loans. I only want grants and scholarships. But then if you do end up having a little bit of a balance or something like that, if you've already planned ahead and had money set aside, you're not then having to struggle and worry about carrying this balance, say, in order to be able to register for a next semester or something like that. The more you plan ahead, the less stress it will be then at crunch time of having to make sure that your balance is paid. This will just, the sooner you start moving and let it flow, the easier it's going to be. It's less of a stress. I always say filling out the FAFSA or planning is your first homework assignment as a college student.
Well, that's a good way to look at that as an actual assignment on there. And I'm thinking too, now there are more and more college savings plans that students can start, and then they have options and the more you have options, which is what these presentations are all about, the more you have options for choosing. So you're not feeling like you have to do something just because you didn't plan ahead of time. Savings is just like that. The financial aid discussions are a part of that so that you get more options for when you do want to decide what it is that you want to do for post-secondary. And Emily, I didn't ask in the beginning for you to introduce yourself. I think that this is one of the first times that we've had Western involved in some of these conversations on there. So you want to tell us a little bit, because Western is both Macomb campus and the Quad City campus. Some of the things you want to talk about or highlight before we close?
So the financial aid across the board, whether you go to the Macomb campus or the Quad Cities, it's the same. I will forewarn, because when we were talking about school codes earlier, a lot of times people are like, but that's for the Macomb campus. Quad Cities doesn't have their own one. You would use that same school code for Western across the board. With going to the Quad Cities, you do have the opportunity, then I'm the only one there, so it's going to be one-on-one with me. But overall, we offer, like I said, there are certain scholarships that are for the whole university, but the Quad Cities does have their own specific scholarships that are great, and we encourage highly for people to apply for. Any free money you can get, the better you are.
Exactly. And both Quad City, the Western Illinois Quad City campus and EICC have some fantastic virtual opportunities for you to take a look at. College visits, you can set up visits with both Kelsey and Emily virtually. So lots of different options to get the word out and talk to your folks, go and make those virtual visits so that you can start planning even during this pandemic on there. And with that, I want to thank Kelsey and Emily for coming in and presenting information. Our next session will be in January, where we'll change things up a little bit. We're going to go to Postsecondary 101, and we'll be having 2 sessions in January. One will be covering some more college information, and then we're also going to talk about our apprenticeships. So check those out when we get those on YouTube, and have a great day. Bye.